Hi, YouTube. YouTube. What's up, YouTube people? Hi. Hey, thanks you all for your subscriptions and for your comments. It's pretty impressive. Just to let you know, I've been working on, it's okay. YouTube. Anyhow, I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy that you all have subscribed and there are more subscribers coming in and people just kind of supporting me in that way. It's really cool. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so today we will be talking about a few things. Mainly, we're going to talk about Artemisia, who was a queen during the Persian and Greek wars. Now, if you watched my last video was about calendars and how this is some of my, I'm going to wear some of the pieces that I've made and show you guys. So they're kind of like on the spotlight while I'm doing videos. Okay, so I had talked about the Persian calendar being the most correct calendar out there. Now, what did I do to myself? Because what I discovered about calendars and time and all of that is freaking mind-blowing. So, when it comes to the Persian calendar, there are certain, in that last video I also mentioned it is the calendar of Iran. It is also the calendar of a couple other places. So I did some research and there are a lot of calendars. So from this, it led me to start thinking like, well, wait a minute, where did history first start becoming a thing? And then it led me to Artemisia, and we're going to talk about her, and then we're gonna do a Sacred Mothers and Goddesses card as well, because it's been a minute. Anyhow, remember I said there's up to 40 calendars in existence? Yeah. There is the Kali Yuga calendar. Many of us have heard of that one. The year of the Kali Yuga era right now is 3108 to 3109. That's the year they're in. There is also the Javanese calendar. We've talked about the Julian calendar. There's a Korean calendar. There's a Mingo calendar. A Seclude era calendar. We have the solar calendar. There's a Tibetan calendar. We've talked about the Iranian. There's a Holocene calendar. A Saka Samvat calendar, which is not available, but it exists. A Vikram Samvat calendar, and those are Hindu calendars. We have the Hebrew calendar. We have the Ethiopian calendar. We have the Discordian calendar. Y'all. And then also, I was thinking about the Julian calendar. So the Julian calendar, does that mean my birthday is 13 days before my birthday? No. Is it? No. Okay. No. I don't think so. But I was thinking about this because I had my birthday a few weeks ago, and then I've been doing this research, and on the day I was doing this research, it was my birthday again on the Julian calendar. And I was like, oh, so do we have two birthdays? And how do they use this, like, gematrially, right? With our birthdays, because the Julian calendar seems to be the calendar for, like, the Orthodox, and it seems to be kind of the base of a lot of, I would say, esoteric groups, maybe even governments. I don't know about the government's part, but definitely the esoteric groups. But also, there are up to 40 different calendars all being used right now. Okay, and then figuring out and then learning that there is a link. I was looking up like AD, and because you'll see BC, BCE. Okay, so BC originally was before Christ. And some writings you'll still see that. BCE is before the Common Era. There are millennia. They'll say the second millennia. Well, it makes it sound like it was millions of years ago. A millennia is 1,000 years. And we are in the first millennia, which started in 2000, or we're in the third millennia, which started in 2000. I did take a picture of that. Let me see if I can find it. But there is the proleptic Julian calendar. Oh my gosh. There's the Gregorian calendar, which we all know, okay? And what am I getting to here? What I found in all of this was then also time. There's universal time. There's Greenwich Mean Witch time. And then each country or state will have its own time. But there is a original time, which was universal time, which guess what time it starts? Noon. Doesn't start at midnight. It starts at noon. And so we'll also see, as I look at the calendars, like when they started and how they were created. Most of them, the ones that we follow today, are attributed to males. As is history, which I'm getting to. Okay. And man, just like when it went into the time, and then I learned certain words like art. Arte comes from Persian language, meaning high up. There are, oh my gosh, links to the Berbers, the calendar, and some of the islands like the Azores and Cape Verde. So it's really kind of interesting because as I started looking up about these calendars and about time, you start getting certain histories about peoples and places. So that led me to looking up who started history. So who started history is given credit to Herodotus. Am I saying his name right? And oh yeah, and then I was looking up the etymology of some words. Like chronology comes from chronos. Anyhow, back to Herodotus. So Herodotus lived in this town. Okay, let me get out of this because it's distracting me. Herodotus lived in a Pelosios. Okay, so he is. Oh, that's right. It led me. Oh, I'm so excited about this. Okay. Okay, so Herodotus lived in the town. Bear with me while I go through my photos on this other phone and find what I'm looking for. Because it took me on a whole pathway, which is exciting. Okay, let's go back. The town he lived in was ruled by Artemisia the first. And he is credited with history because he was the first systematic, he is credited as being the first systematic writer to write the Persian and Greek, write about the Persian and Greek wars. This is how we even know about Artemisia. And Artemisia was born, her father was, they say Greek, and then her mother was Crete. And so I did some investigations about that. But Artemisia was in support of Xerxes, who at the time was in charge of the Persian Empire. Now, why are we talking about her? Because she had, here is one of the pictures of her. This is considered her. And we've seen this in some of Mama Zogbe's books. This is off of Google. I'm not violating any copyrights, maybe the photo, but this is on Google Wikipedia. Okay, that is her. And there's this battle called the Battle of Salamis. And Xerxes had gathered all his men, and including her, because she was an incredible warrior and military head. And she became queen because her father passed away, or her husband. I can't remember. I think it might have been her husband. Okay, so it was a battle against the Greeks and the Persians, and the Greeks were really good on the water. And she was saying, like, hey, don't fight them on the water because they're really good at it. Bring them this way. Well, she was the only one who said that. All the other generals were like, yes, let's do it. And Xerxes, even though he respected her, he went with his other commanders. So the war happens, the fight happens, and she's out there, and she's just kicking. She is kicking butt. She is on it, because he's watching from a mountaintop. Xerxes is watching the whole thing from a mountaintop, because his theory was the only reason why he didn't do well in the water before was because he wasn't there to watch his people and give them encouragement. Well, they did start losing because the Greeks were way better at water. So Artemisia makes a plan and basically destroys one of the ships of theirs and deceives the Greeks into thinking she's kind of on their side. So they kind of back off, and they were able to overtake and win this particular battle. Well, she also, the way that the king speaks of her, the way that Herodotus speaks of her. So there's a big deal made about her battle. Well, there's a male that writes, there's two males that start. Herodotus, he has his side, and he loves Artemisia. He writes about it. She's obviously named after a goddess, or is the goddess named after her? Because there are depictions of her with a bow and arrow shooting. She had all the things that we have seen attributed to the goddess Artemis. Artemisia had those qualities. And it just brings me to, like, she was a real person. So one of the other people of the time, he didn't want to listen to Herodotus because he felt that Herodotus was trying to make her look like a sibyl. She was a sibyl. She predicted correctly. Okay. So this is what Herodotus said about her. Artemisia, who moves me to marvel greatly that a woman should have gone with the armament against Hellas, for her husband being dead. Okay, that's how she got there. She herself had his sovereignty and a young son withal, and followed the host under no stress of necessity. See how I used to speak? The host under no stress of necessity, but of mere high-hearted valor. Artemisia was her name. She was daughter of Lygdamus, and her father's side of Halisarnarism lineage. That's the town they lived in, Halisarnassium. She had a Cretan mother. She was leader of men. She had 5 ships, and her ships were reputed the best in the whole fleet. Which is interesting because remember when I did the videos on Balboa Park? And there were 5 ships behind her. Anyways, I just thought that was interesting. Okay. She was leader of men. She had her 5 ships. She was the leader of these cities. I mean, and there's other writings about her. Here's a painting by Willem van Kallenbach of Artemisia. I think a lot of these have been lightened because when I looked up about Cretans and the people of Halicarnassus, they were brown. They were brown. Okay. And let's see. And then even like they said her father was Greek. If you look up his background, they were brown also. And so then I went down a whole thing on Sibyls because there is some that bird coin has been represented as representing Sibyls. So I found that interesting because that's Artemisia. So I want to share that with you all, including some of the calendar stuff, which the calendar stuff is just freaking mind-blowing. It's just freaking mind-blowing. I mean, ultimately, again, like, oh my gosh, there's a lot going on in the sky, and we've been paying attention to it for a long time. And it looks to me as though our calendars shifted. It really, from the way it looks, even from some of the beginnings of these calendars, outside of the Persian calendar, because I haven't done a lot of research around it, besides what I've shared with you, because there's so much more to learn, is where's the mothers? Where are the mothers? And with the Persian calendar, it seems as though it might have started with Muhammad's first wife, but I cannot confirm that yet in my studies. All right, let's pull a... is there anything else? There are so many things I wanted to talk about. But we're not gonna make it too long today. But where are my notes? Check out my Patreon. I'm going to upload another video, some about the nervous system, about food, and its connection to us. So if you're interested, check out my Patreon. There are different tiers. If there's also some information that doesn't require you to pay anything, and check that out as well. Also, I'm sharing my jewelry. I also made these earrings. So I pretty much make almost everything I wear. So if you see something, but also I've specifically made art and jewelry for you if you would like to purchase it. So then here's my Wonder Woman, and this is dendritic agate, dendritic agate, and then this also has kyanite, a little fancy bead. It's not too heavy, stays on well, it's pretty sturdy. Okay, so moving on to the goddess and the mothers. All right, I'm going to do some shuffling, but I also am going to look at my notes because I wrote down a lot of stuff that I was going to share with you all about the calendar. But I mostly want it, at this point, it's like, I feel like the calendar stuff is kind of confusing. It is for me, but I definitely wanted to share with you all. I'm always wanting to share about goddesses and ancient women that we don't know about. Because, of course, we don't know about Artemisia. And there was an Artemisia. So there was her, and then her grandson basically became leader. But then after him, there's an Artemisia 2. And then after her, there's an Artemisia 3. So I used to love studying like Greek history and all that kind of stuff. And we mostly hear about like Helen of Troy, right? I mean, and isn't that during that time? Oh, that's right. Here it is. She was Carian and Greek. And, yeah, she was an ally. I already told you that part. Oh, her name comes from Artemis, the Roman equivalent of Diana. It says itself an unknown etymology, though various ideas have been proposed that Artemis of Xenophon, the Persian origin. This is where arte, all meaning great, excellent, holy, becomes identical with the great mother of nature. And is even worshipped at Ephesus. And let's see. Oh, yeah, of course I wrote this down. And let's see. Something is a snake. Oh, another representation of her is a snake. And then making her name like name popular in many households. And her name also, okay, so she was used as a protector, and Plato himself considered her safe, uninjured, pure. So the name, that name could mean that, Artemisia or Artemis. And let's see here. Okay. Then I went into some other stuff, but and then I just also, to clarify, the Persian Empire then is what is now Iran, Egypt, Turkey, and parts of Afghanistan and Pakistan. Okay. And then I went into the languages. And okay. Thanks for listening to that. Now we'll get back to sacred mothers and goddesses. We'll do a little shuffling. I see I picked some. Do a little shuffling. Okay. All right. So some of the more recent remembrances and downloads from the Great Mother. So one of them is when we're doing certain movements like yoga and such like that, we taught, meaning the mothers, we taught certain practices, but we also encouraged intuition and discovering new ways of movement and poses. So one of the poses can be, instead of like when you're sitting and meditating, you can, and especially if you're barefoot, but even if you're wearing like socks, okay, and you're in the cross-legged position, try grabbing each foot and putting your thumb in the middle of your foot as if you were putting your thumb in the middle of your palm. You'll feel the spot. It's kind of like a spot where basically a lot of your tendons and muscles, specifically your Achilles heel, comes together. And sit there for a moment, because what you're doing actually is you're connecting all these spots on your body, and there's like this crisscross that happens in your mind because it's opposite hand and opposite foot, even though you're not crossing your arms, you're just crossing your legs. And that brings a universal connection. It opens certain points in your body, and it's pretty grounding. Okay, and then what else? Practicing with the forces, practicing with elementals and forces of nature. And that, I mean, something, I don't want to say that. That sounds so vague. Okay. Well, she says a prominent shift in the female. Everyone's saying that. It's not that everyone's, it's okay. She's, yeah, we'll see it. I said this last year that we would start seeing it this year. So we're going to start seeing it. There's going to be some big changes coming, specifically in regards to the female humans on this planet. Okay, so I've stopped shuffling. I'm going to pull the first top card. White Terra, life force, health, and longevity. All right. Have we pulled this one before? The number is 33. That's interesting. We have 33 vertebrae. We, when it comes to our nervous system and when it comes to health and longevity, you can relate that to the nervous system as well as the lymph system and movement. Okay, without getting into what she says, but what the book says on White Terra. And I think there are 4 tarots. There might be more than that. And they each have a color, and each color relates to certain things. So as you're shifting in certain ways, like say with foods and such, I just did a video about this, but certain foods, their colors can shift some of how your mind is, how your body responds. It could be a practice. You can bring in certain colors. I think maybe there's only 4 in this book, but I think there's quite a few Terras. All right, White Terra, life force, health, and longevity. Goddess White Terra in the Indo-Tibetan deity the Indo-Tibetan deity whose name means star. Okay. Is one of the 21 Terras. Okay, I was way off. And 21 equals 3, just saying. She was born from a tear of compassion shed by Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara, the male incarnation of the goddess Kuan Yin. She is born from a tear of compassion shed by Avalokiteshvara, the male incarnation of the goddess Kuan Yin. So Kuan Yin can turn herself into a man? The male incarnation of Kuan Yin? Now I have to do some more research. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. White Terra is associated with healing, longevity, and life force, prana, ki, kundalini, and other cultures. She purifies body and spirit to help remove obstacles in life. She protects against stress, bad karma, and other negative influences on health. White Terra's message. Life energy is the inner power that connects you to all that is magical and spiritual. It is your own cosmic energy and divine spirit. It is your umbilical cord to spirit and your higher self. When you feel stagnant or that life force is stagnant, your vitality, passion, and manifestations become stuck, affecting your happiness and your path to become all that you are meant to be. You have the potential to be empowered in all aspects of your physical and mental well-being. If you focus on taking responsibility for your health, you will have the potential for increased life energy and longevity. If you currently have health challenges, White Tara's presence says you will soon break through them. Nourish your body with rest, healthy food, and have faith that they are purifying your body. All right. This is just exercises. You can use a star because stars are related to her. Certain colors corresponding to certain chakras. I did speak about that on my Patreon video and a little bit here. So before I go, I will share a little bit of what I've shared on my Patreon because I just think it's important everywhere, regardless. But I talked about the nervous system and the lymphatic system, because both of these systems directly correlate to our well-being, our mental health, and how we feel on a regular basis, including dis-ease or disharmony in the body. And so, and I've mentioned this in one of my other videos, but your nervous system kind of teaches you how to protect yourself. And then your lymph system helps clean your body out. And if your lymph system is working well, most everything else is going to be working well. Okay? And I just want to throw this out there. I recently got a mini trampoline. Also called a rebounder. And I am so happy I got it. It's not that expensive. This one's, I think, 48 inches. So it's a little bit bigger, and I did that on purpose. I have the space, and then I also did that because I wasn't sure like how much bounce it would have, like the littler ones, and I wanted it to have a little more stretchiness. Anyhow, a rebounder or bouncing on a trampoline or jumping up and down on something that kind of comes down as you come down, like you're not jumping on the ground, you're actually jumping on something that also goes down, is wonderful for your lymphatic system. It's very beneficial. And okay, but yeah, over there I talk about the body, ways to help with mental health, with healing, and with repatterning and working through emotions. So check it out if you'd like to. Otherwise, keep checking me out here. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. All right. A little bit of sound before we go.